Once upon a time, in a land filled with whispering trees and sparkling rivers, lived a curious little girl named Lily. Lily had hair the color of sunflowers and eyes that twinkled like the morning dew. Every day, her greatest adventure was exploring the meadows behind her cozy cottage, where butterflies danced and bees hummed sweet lullabies. But Lily always dreamt of grander adventures, the kind she read about in her dusty old fairy tale books. She imagined brave knights, enchanting fairies, and friendly dragons. One sunny afternoon, while chasing a particularly vibrant blue butterfly, Lily stumbled upon something she had never seen before, a hidden path, barely visible beneath a curtain of ivy. Her heart fluttered with excitement. This was it, her very own fairy tale beginning. With a deep breath, she pushed aside the ivy and stepped onto the path, her worn leather shoes crunching softly on the dry leaves. The path wound deeper into the woods, where the trees grew taller and their branches interlaced like the fingers of ancient giants, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor. The air grew cooler, and a sweet, earthy scent filled Lily's nose. She heard the distant tinkle of a tiny bell, then another, and another. Following the sounds, she soon found herself in a clearing bathed in an ethereal glow. Before her stood a magnificent, ancient oak tree, its branches reaching towards the sky like welcoming arms. And nestled among its roots, peeking out from behind a curtain of glowing moss, was a tiny, intricately carved wooden door. It was no bigger than Lily's hand, adorned with sparkling amethyst stones and a tiny silver knocker shaped like a ladybug. And quat, oh, my, and quat, Lily whispered, her eyes wide with wonder. She gently tapped the ladybug knocker. A moment later, the door creaked open, revealing not a dark, mysterious tunnel, but a burst of golden light and a tiny, musical voice. And quat, welcome, welcome, little traveler, and quat, chirped a creature no bigger than her thumb. It was a fairy, with gossamer wings that shimmered with all the colors of the rainbow and a dress made of delicate rose petals. She had sparkling green eyes and a mischievous smile. And quat, I'm Flick, and quat, the fairy introduced herself, bowing with an elegant flutter of her wings. And quat, and you, I presume, a Lily, and quat. Lily, still quite astonished, managed a nod. And quat, how did you know my name? And quat. Flick giggled, her voice like tiny wind chimes. And quat, oh, the forest tells us many things. We've been expecting you. The prophecy speaks of a brave young girl with sunshine hair who will help us save our enchanted realm. And quat. Lily's jaw dropped. And quat. Prophecy. Me. And quat. And quat, indeed, and quat, Flick said, hovering playfully around Lily's head. And quat, our realm, the Whispering Glade, is in trouble. The ancient orb of Lumina, which powers all our magic and keeps our glade vibrant, has been stolen by the grumbling goblins of gloom. Without it, our flowers are fading, our streams are slowing, and our magic is dwindling. And quat. Lily felt a surge of courage. And quat. I'll help you, and quat, she declared, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. And quat. What do I need to do? And quat. And quat. You must venture into the treacherous Goblin Mountains, retrieve the orb of Lumina, and bring it back to the heart of the glade before the next full moon. And quat, Flick explained, her voice serious now. And quat, it's a perilous journey, filled with riddles and challenges. But you won't be alone. You'll have friends along the way. And quat. Suddenly, the air around them shimmered, and a tiny, shimmering portal opened beside Flick. And quat, "This will take you to the edge of the Whispering Glade, where your journey truly begins. Be brave, Lily. The fate of our realm rests on your shoulders." And quat. Before Lily could say another word, Flick gently pushed her through the shimmering portal. Lily tumbled out onto a soft bed of moss in a completely different part of the forest. The trees here were even more magnificent, and giant, luminous mushrooms pulsed with a soft light. The air was filled with the sweet scent of honeysuckle and the distant sound of a cascading waterfall. And quat, "Well, hello there, little one." And quat. A booming, friendly voice startled Lily. She looked up to see a creature unlike anything she had ever imagined. It was a large, shaggy bear, but not just any bear. This bear had sparkling, intelligent eyes and wore a tiny, surprisingly stylish waistcoat. He held a well-worn leather-bound book in one paw. And quat, "Greetings. I am Barnaby, the bear of books." And quat, the bear rumbled, his voice like warm honey. And quat, "Flick sent word you'd be coming. You're the one to help with the orb, aren't you?" And quat. Lily nodded, still a little awestruck. And quat, "Yes, I'm Lily." And quat. And quat, "Splendid. I shall be your first guide." And quat. Barnaby announced, closing his book with a gentle thud. And quat, "Your first task is to cross the Whispering River. It's a tricky crossing, known for its illusions. But fear not, for I know the secret." And quat. Barnaby led Lily to the edge of a wide, sparkling river. The water shimmered within array of colors, and strange, beautiful reflections danced on its surface, images of floating castles, giant singing fish, and even Lily herself, but with wings. And quat. The Whispering River shows you your deepest desires and biggest fears. And quat. Barnaby explained. And quat. To cross safely, you must close your eyes, take 3 deep breaths, and only open them when you feel the solid ground beneath your feet. If you open them too soon, the illusions will confuse you, and you might get lost. And quat. Lily was a little scared, but she remembered Flick's words about bravery. She took a deep breath, then another, and another. Then, tightly closing her eyes, she took a brave step forward, holding Barnaby's paw. She felt the cool water swirl around her ankles, then her knees. The water tried to trick her, whispering promises of delicious cakes and fantastical toys, but Lily held firm, focusing on the feeling of Barnaby's warm paw. After what felt like an eternity, Lily felt solid ground beneath her feet. She slowly opened her eyes. She was on the other side of the river, the illusions gone, the water now calm and clear. And quat. You did it, Lily. And quat. Barnaby boomed, giving her a congratulatory pat on the head. And quat. You faced the illusions and conquered them with your inner strength. And quat. Their journey continued through sun-dappled forests and over gentle hills. Barnaby told Lily tales of the Whispering Glade, of valiant knights and mischievous pixies, keeping her spirits high. As dusk began to paint the sky in hues of orange and purple, they arrived at a peculiar grove. Here, the trees had leaves that glowed like tiny lanterns, and the ground was covered in soft, luminous moss. In the center of the grove sat a grumpy-looking gnome with a long, white beard and a pointy red hat. He was meticulously polishing a collection of shiny, colorful rocks. And quat. HMPH. Another traveler, I see. And quat. The gnome grumbled, not even looking up. And quat. What do you want? I'm busy. These are very important rocks, and quat. And quat. Excuse me, sir, and quat, Lily said politely, remembering her manners. And quat, we're on a quest to retrieve the orb of Lumina from the goblins of gloom. Flick the fairy sent us. We need to find the entrance to the Goblin Mountains, and quat. The gnome finally looked up, his eyes, like tiny emeralds, narrowing. And quat, the Goblin Mountains, eh? A dangerous place. And you expect me to just tell you the way? Nothing in this world comes free, little girl, and quat. He gestured to a large, intricate puzzle box beside him. And quat, solve my riddle of reflections, and I might just consider helping you. And quat, Barnaby nudged Lily gently. And quat, the gnomes are known for their love of riddles. Lily, use your wits. And quat, the gnome cleared his throat and recited. And quat, I have cities, but no houses. I have mountains, but no trees. I have water, but no fish. What am I? And quat, Lily thought hard. Cities, mountains, water, but no houses, trees, or fish. She looked around, and her gaze fell on a large, ancient map carved into the side of a fallen log. Suddenly, it clicked. And quat, eh? Map, and quat, Lily exclaimed. The gnome's eyes widened in surprise, and a rare smile broke through his grumpy demeanor. And quat, by the sparkling stones of the earth, you've got it. Indeed, a map. Very well, little one, you've earned my help. And quat, he pointed a gnarled finger towards a hidden passage behind a large, gnarled tree. And quat, through there lies the path to the Goblin Mountains. Be warned, the path is steep, and the air is thin. And beware of the skittering spiders. They love to play tricks on unsuspecting travelers. And quat, Lily thanked the gnome profusely, and she and Barnaby set off once more. The path immediately began to climb, and the glowing trees of the grove gave way to jagged rocks and sparse, twisted shrubs. The air grew colder, and a thin mist began to swirl around them. As they ascended, they heard a strange clicking sound. Then, from the shadows between the rocks, emerged a group of creatures that made Lily's heart skip a beat. They were skittering spiders, just as the gnome had warned. But these weren't ordinary spiders. They were larger than Lily's head, with iridescent carapaces and multiple glowing eyes that pulsed with an eerie light. They scuttled sideways, blocking their path. And quat, greetings, travelers, and quat, one of the spiders hissed, its voice surprisingly soft and high-pitched. And quat, to pass, you must answer our challenge. We are the keepers of the whispering web. We weave tales and truths. Tell us, what is your greatest fear? And quat, Lily hesitated. Her greatest fear? Being alone, perhaps, or not being brave enough. But then she remembered Barnaby's advice, always be honest, but always be strong. And quat, my greatest fear, and quat, Lily said, looking directly at the glowing eyes of the lead spider, and quat, is failing my friends and not being able to help the whispering glade. But I will not let that fear stop me. And quat, the spiders paused, their clicking sounds ceasing. Then, to Lily's surprise, they began to weave a shimmering, temporary bridge of silk across a chasm that had previously blocked their way. And quat, you have faced your fear and spoken your truth, little human. And quat, the lead spider said. And quat, you may pass. But remember, courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. And quat, Lily and Barnaby cautiously crossed the shimmering silk bridge. On the other side, the landscape became even more rugged, with towering, dark peaks disappearing into the swirling mists. They had truly entered the Goblin Mountains. After a long and tiring climb, they reached a narrow cave entrance, smelling faintly of damp earth and something vaguely metallic. This had to be it. And Quat, this is as far as I can go. Lily, and Quat, Barnaby said, his voice a little sad. And Quat, my size makes these passages too tight. But you are brave and clever. Remember the lessons you've learned. Trust your instincts, and never give up. And Quat, he handed her his worn book. And Quat, this is for you. It contains many tales of courage. Read it when you need inspiration. And Quat. Lily hugged Barnaby goodbye, feeling a pang of sadness at their parting. And Quat. Thank you, Barnaby, and Quat, she whispered. And Quat. For everything. And Quat. With a deep breath and a final glance back at the kind bear, Lily stepped into the dark maw of the cave. It was cold and damp, and the air was filled with strange echoes. She lit a small, glowing moss from her pocket, given to her by Flick, to illuminate her way. The cave system was a labyrinth of twists and turns. After what felt like hours, she heard the distinct sound of grumpy grumbling and the clinking of metal. She peeked around a corner and saw a cavern bathed in the flickering light of strange, mossy torches. Before her stood a sight both comical and a little intimidating. Goblins. They were small, with green skin, long, pointy noses, and tattered clothes. They wore rusty helmets and carried tiny, blunt axes. They were gathered around a makeshift throne, upon which sat their king, King Grungle, a particularly portly goblin with a crown made of bent spoons. And there, clutched in King Grungle's hand, shimmering with an inner light, was the Orb of Lumina. Lily's heart pounded. She needed a plan. She couldn't just rush in. There were too many goblins. She remembered Barnaby's book, filled with stories of clever heroes. What would they do? She noticed that the goblins were arguing loudly about a game of dice. Their attention was completely diverted. This was her chance. Quietly, Lily crept along the shadows of the cavern walls, her glowing moss tucked safely away. She was careful not to disturb any loose rocks. She moved with the stealth of a cat, her eyes fixed on the orb. She was almost there, just a few feet from the throne, when a small, clumsy goblin tripped over his own feet, sending a pile of rusty helmets clattering to the ground. And Quat, intruder, and Quat, roared King Grungle, his voice echoing through the cavern. All the goblins turned, their beady eyes fixing on Lily. Lily knew she couldn't fight them all. She had to be even more clever. She remembered the gnome's riddle and the skittering spider's challenge. She needed to use her wits. And Quat, wait, and Quat, Lily shouted, her voice surprisingly loud and clear. And Quat, you've stolen the Orb of Lumina. You think you can keep it? You think you can hide from the magic of the Whispering Glade? And Quat. King Grungle scoffed. And Quat, bah, what can a tiny human like you do? We goblins of gloom are fearsome. This orb is ours now. And Quat. And Quat. Is it? And Quat. Lily challenged, a mischievous glint in her eyes. And Quat. The Orb of Lumina is more than just a shiny trinket. It is pure magic, and magic must be loved and nurtured. You goblins, with all your grumbling and gloom, are making it sad. Look, and Quat. She pointed dramatically at the orb. In her mind, she pictured the vibrant colors of the Whispering Glade, the joyful dancing of Flick, the kindness of Barnaby. She focused all her positive thoughts on the orb. And to her astonishment, and the goblin's utter bewilderment, the orb of Lumina pulsed with an even brighter, more intense light, casting beautiful, swirling patterns of color across the cavern walls. The grumpy goblins, accustomed to only darkness and shadows, shielded their eyes, grumbling even louder. And quat, it's too bright, and quat, cried one goblin. And quat, my eyes, my beautiful gloom, and quat, wailed another. King Grungle, startled, dropped the orb. It rolled across the cavern floor, closer to Lily. This was her moment. Lily scooped up the orb, its warmth spreading through her hands. It felt powerful, alive. And quat, you can't keep it, and quat, Lily declared, holding the orb aloft. And quat, it belongs to the light, not the gloom, and quat. She turned and ran, the orb radiating a brilliant light that momentarily blinded the goblins. They shrieked and stumbled, unable to chase her effectively in their sudden brightness. Lily raced back through the labyrinthine caves, the orb lighting her way. She could hear the frustrated shouts of the goblins fading behind her. She didn't stop until she saw the glimmer of daylight at the cave entrance. She burst out into the fresh mountain air, gasping for breath, the orb of Lumina still glowing brightly in her hands. The sun was setting, painting the sky in fiery oranges and soft purples. As she made her way down the mountain path, she felt a profound sense of accomplishment. She had been brave, she had been clever, and she had succeeded. At the foot of the mountain, waiting for her, was Barnaby. He let out a joyful roar when he saw her, his eyes twinkling. And quat, Lily, you did it. I knew you would. And quat, he boomed, embracing her in a gentle bear hug. Together, they made their way back through the enchanted forest, the orb of Lumina illuminating their path like a tiny sun. They passed the grove of glowing trees, where the grumpy gnome waved a cheerful farewell, no longer grumpy at all. They crossed the whispering river, its waters now calm and serene, reflecting only the true beauty of the forest. Finally, as the moon began to rise, they arrived back at the ancient oak tree in the clearing where Lily's adventure had begun. Flick the fairy, along with dozens of other shimmering fairies and pixies, were waiting. Their faces were filled with worry, but when they saw Lily holding the orb, a collective cheer erupted. And quat, Lily, you returned, and quat, Flick cried, flitting excitedly around her. And quat, you are our hero, and quat. Lily, beaming, carefully placed the orb of Lumina back into its rightful place at the heart of the ancient oak tree. As soon as it settled, a wave of shimmering, vibrant energy spread throughout the whispering glade. The flowers that had been fading instantly bloomed anew, their colors more brilliant than ever. The streams, which had been slowing, now gurgled and splashed with renewed vigor. The air filled with a chorus of joyful songs from birds and unseen forest creatures. The entire glade pulsed with magic and life. And quat, you have saved us, Lily, and quat, Flick said, landing gently on Lily's shoulder. And quat, the prophecy has come true. You are the bravest, kindest, and cleverest girl in all the land. And quat, Lily spent the rest of the evening celebrating with the fairies and forest creatures. She danced with Flick, listened to Barnaby tell even more wondrous tales, and felt a warmth spread through her heart that was even brighter than the orb of Lumina. When it was time to return home, Flick gave Lily a tiny, glowing seed. And quat, plant this in your garden, Lily, and quat, she whispered. And quat, It will grow into a magical flower that will remind you of your bravery and our friendship. And whenever you need a little magic, remember, it's always within you. And quote. Lily hugged Flick. Goodbye, then, Barnaby. She stepped through the shimmering portal back to her own meadow, the magical seed clutched in her hand. The sun was just beginning to rise, painting the sky with soft pinks and oranges. She hurried back to her cottage, a gentle breeze rustling through her sunflower-colored hair. She planted the glowing seed in her garden, and as she watched it sprout tiny, shimmering leaves, she knew that her adventure wasn't just a dream. It was real. She had faced her fears, used her wits, and helped her new friends. From that day on, Lily continued to explore the meadows and read her fairy tale books, but now, she knew that true magic wasn't just in the stories. It was in the courage of her own heart, the kindness she shared, and the adventures waiting just beyond the familiar path. And sometimes, when the wind was just right, she could still hear the faint, happy tinkle of tiny bells, reminding her of the whispering glade and her magical adventure. Now